My name is Mark Sargent. I live up in Seattle, Washington, which is in the northwest of the United States.
Are you there or are you in the
He's explaining it.
That's okay. You might want to pan the camera down just a little bit, though.
There.
If you can't point it at the people, that's fine. I think I can pick up the audio. Back in 2015, wow, 3 years ago now, I made a little thing called Flat Earth Clues. And I put it on the internet, which was basically...
Hold on.
What?
Yes, you can ask questions.
When he's finished his introduction.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right, don't worry. No worries. Anyway, I made a thing called Flat Earth Clues. I put it on the internet, and it was a cry for help. It was like, look, I can't prove the globe anymore in a court of law. So can anyone else, help me out with this? And over the last 3 years, it's turned into much, much more. To where, I didn't create Flat Earth, obviously. There's a lot of really, really great people in Flat Earth. What I did was I created the
Come on
dummies.
there, please. Yes. Sorry, Mark.
That's okay. So I made the dummies guide for Flat Earth, and it has blossomed into a whole bunch of stuff to where up here in the United States, we did our first conference in Raleigh, North Carolina. There's going to be 2 more in North America. One's going to be in Edmonton, Canada, coming up in August. The second conference is going to be in Denver, Colorado in November. And then the documentary, which you guys probably heard of recently.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm not lagging, am I?
No, it's all good.
Okay. There's going to be a documentary that's going to be released. It was just finished called, you guys can look it up if you get a chance, it's called Behind the Curve. And you can look it up at behindthecurvefilm.com. It was shot by a Los Angeles team that hunted us down and spent an entire year with us in 2017 up in the United States. And it's going to be very, very controversial. It is a mainstream production, made by mainstream, for mainstream. And for flat earthers, it is going to be very, very polarizing because they show both sides. They talk to us for most of it, but at the same time, they also talk to an astronaut, a scientist, a physicist, a psychologist, people that want to know why. Because that's the big question. That's the big question that's out there. By the way, I got to congratulate you guys because this is New Zealand, right? Because Australia, that never happened.
No.
Right? That's fantastic. Thank you guys for doing this because I knew that Australia just kind of crashed and burned, and I feel bad for them. Was there a technical issue I was missing?
Alcohol.
It's a water issue in the city.
I'm sorry, I've got the advantage because I've got a drink in my hand. Anyway, so it has been a wild, wild year up here. As you know, we've had some celebrities that have kind of gotten involved, mostly athletics, which is really, really strange. But it has been a heck of a ride so far. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be going down to Los Angeles in about 3 weeks. National Geographic contacted me, and we've upset so many people that there's a debunker association that wants to do a test, like their own visual test across this Salt Lake down in California, and National Geographic wants to film it and see if they can convince me that the world's not flat. I'm going, no, that's not going to happen. That's never going to happen here. So it's been really, really fun. But again, I hate speeches. You guys, at the end of every one of my videos, I say do your own research and ask questions. And I know this mic is probably distracting the hell of you guys, but that should be fun. But it is. Do your own research and ask questions, and that's what I'm here for. And I'm sure you guys have little nagging questions about anything. Throw them at me. What do you got? Anything.
Hey Mark,
I don't care who.
could I ask you just one thing?
Yeah, you in the back.
Yeah, with regards to the models, there's different models, right? There's the AE model, there's the diamond flat model, if you like, the Pac-Man model.
Yeah.
I see problems in all of them, that they're not 100%, none of them. So I was just wondering, when someone asks you about a model and questions a model, what do you say you believe in?
That is an excellent question, and I actually talked about this in the documentary. And if any of you are Monty Python fans, I actually used a reference of Life of Brian, because if you remember the movie Life of Brian, where Brian runs away and he drops his shoe, and there was this moment where everyone just like stops and looks at the shoe and they contemplate the meaning of the shoe. And literally, it's a fantastic. I don't know who wrote it, that part, but it was brilliant. In 90 seconds. They created, I don't know, half a dozen religions based off of just the dropping of the shoe. What does it mean? What does it mean? And that's really what the flat earth, where we have our problems is that there's so much enthusiasm with the flat earth that when you first are approached and saying, what's the model? What's the model? My job has always been, well, at least for the last couple of years anyway, has always been really and I don't know what it's like down in New Zealand, is being like the freshman recruiter for university. Meaning, I just try to get them in the door, and then it's like, you want to go to advanced mapping? There's a building back that way you can hang out with Darren Nesbitt and all those guys. Because like you probably saw Darren Nesbitt up in the UK. He mentions the Pac-Man model. Holy smokes! They jump all over that. The media couldn't stop talking about that, because you can look at Pac-Man graphics all day long, and they just slap those stickers on just about everything. Here's what I try to tell. I know I'm not dodging your question. Here's what I try to tell people. If you have a map that's different than the AE, the azimuthal equidistant map, the UN flag, then you better be able to explain it to a person on the street in under 60 seconds. If you can't, give them the easy thing, even if you don't agree with the AE map entirely. And I'm not knocking Darren Nesbitt. He's a really intelligent guy, and he gave probably one of the best stand-up podium conference things I've ever seen in my life, when he did it at this church symposium thing. It was fantastic. But back then, he liked the AE map, and then as he went on and on, he's like, wait, I think it could be something more. That's great. And, I'm glad you can do something more. But you're never going to take that and take it to the street and do like what Dell does up in Ireland. And wait, Dell's in Scotland, right? No, he's in Ireland. Crap. Well, it doesn't really matter. Scotland, Ireland, whatever. Oh, so if if you can't take it to somebody in the street in 60 seconds, go with the easiest thing, which is why I don't have it's in my bag. I always start with the AE map, just because it gives them something to look at. Remember, the average person on the street, this puts them back on their heels so quickly that they don't know what to do. Most of the radio interviews I've done and some of the video interviews, I've gotten lucky, because flat earth, if you've ever mentioned this to somebody that's never ever talked about it before, it hits them. It's like a big frying pan in the head. They don't know what to do. And so trying to make it too complex, it's just too much. It's too much. Like even the documentary, when we were screening it up in Toronto, Canada, just a couple weeks ago, there were still 5 people that walked out of that theater because they couldn't handle it. So, short answer, go with the simplest thing. AE map to start, but at the very least you can say there's a lot, and I say this, there is division about exactly what the map is. What we can tell you, you've heard this over and over, what we can tell you is we absolutely know it's not a globe.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Yeah.
And that's true. Nobody goes back to the globe. I keep telling them, look, the flat earth community is got a 99% retention rate. You compare that to any other major religions, Mormonism, Scientology, it blows them out of the water as far as when you get into this. Even if you want to go back, you kind of turn into like Cypher from the Matrix. Yeah. Where he's like, he literally has this like, I don't want to remember nothing, because once you're out, you're out. So anyway, sorry, that was my long answer. Who else has a cool question like he did? And by the way, if that was because of the beer, keep drinking more, whatever.
Yeah, what's behind the dome?
Uh-oh, who said that?
Nathan over here, mate.
What? I get that question a lot.
Yeah.
I see it. No, I see it. You're okay. What's on the other side of the dome? I get that question probably 1 in 10, along with why would you bother hiding it? For me, what's on the other side of the dome is an unlimited universe. meaning I kind of like the. If you want to look up something fun, look up that woodcut from 1888 called the Flammarion, where that monk is looking underneath the bottom of. Have you ever seen it? It's in black and white and color. It's beautiful. And the story behind it, I love it. The Vatican sent out monks because they heard the rumor that there may be an edge to this thing. I've always thought that the world, as you know it, is pure conflict, meaning it is inescapable. There's an analogy is an old song back in the 70s. No matter how many, it's by Joe Walsh. No matter how many problems, in fact, it's called Life's Been Good. Where no matter how many cool things happen in your life, you always have something to complain about. This world, at least for us, seems to be inescapable conflict. Meaning, if you took us out of the equation, the world seems to run pretty good on its own. Animals and nature and everything. We're the only ones that seem to have problems with it.
Yeah.
So, for me, outside of this place, you can put whatever name you want on it. Shambhala, Nirvana, heaven, whatever it is. Whatever's outside of here is a very, very pure version of what this is.
Very good.
What else? What? Questions? Give me questions. Anybody? Anything. But I don't care how small it is. By the way, there's no such thing as a dumb question.
What do you think the future holds for Flat Earth? What do you think the future holds for Flat Earth? The Flat Earth movement per
Excellent
se?
question from the guy who's drinking apparently liquid smarts. I get that question quite a bit too, mostly from inside the community. We're really at the verge of something huge here. Because the stuff that's happening now is, and I don't know if you see what we see down there. I don't know if you have the access to the same sort of social media that we do up in the States, but we've pretty much saturated all the lower and mid-level tiers of media. I mean, just about every major channel, including the biggest YouTube channels in the world, have covered this at one point or another because they know it's hot. Quick numbers I can throw out to people. Forget about the 99% retention rate. You can look this up, you guys yourself. When you went into YouTube 3 years ago, you typed in Flat Earth and sorted by upload date, maybe 50,000 hits showed up, relevant search results. If you type in that same thing this morning, it's coming in, and I just changed again, I think it's coming in about 20.7 million. That sort of growth rate in 3 years is phenomenal, ridiculous. It's through the roof. And you say, well, what does 20.7 million mean? Well, what I mean is you type in NASA, they're coming in at 9 million. You type in the Beatles, they're coming in at 14 million. Wow. Donald Trump, probably the most talked about president in our history of presidents, for obvious reasons, he's coming in at a little over 21 and a half. The only things that are beating us right now are people like, small people like Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, those guys that are coming in at like 24 and 26 respectively. So we're really, really close to something huge, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly what the chess moves on the board are going to be. The documentary that just happened, it was just debuted up in the film festival up in Toronto. It was tracking very, very well. I mean, in fact, there was the National Geographic, they called literally within 2 days after the trailer broke on that thing. When that thing comes out, it is going to be probably one of the most controversial videos ever. And then it'll be followed by some sort of mainstream television series. I hope they don't parallel like Ancient Aliens, but Ancient Aliens did fine.
Hey Mark, that kind of leads into my next question.
Yeah.
How do you think the authorities are going to deal with it, with the rising numbers?
I've always thought, and I've said this since day one, that Flat Earth feels like, to give you a metaphor, it feels like the frame around a picture. Meaning, Flat Earth had to be there first to open the minds up, because Flat Earth is really the ultimate open-minded test. That's really what it is. There was a guy, one of the guys up in the States, he actually hates me now. His name was Star Gods, and he called it like the ultimate Flat Earth spray. He said, people can say they're open-minded all day long. It's like, really? Here, I got something for you, Flat Earth. And like, oh my God. People believe in all sorts of things, but Flat Earth is so far out compared to everything else. So Back to your question, though. I've always thought that the flat Earth was something that had to be introduced first, like the frame of a picture, and then the canvas is laid out. But really, whatever it is that it's got to be bigger than flat Earth. There's only a couple choices you have, meaning the introduction of another civilization that we haven't heard about yet, some sort of celestial event. God, I hope it's not Nibiru, since that thing. Look, I followed Nibiru back in 2012. That was 6 years ago. If they try to bring Nibiru back now, it's like, come on, give me a break. That's way late. But I do think that anyone that thinks that ours would be dumb. No. They are the brightest. They think it's very, very smart people. And I always thought
Caught
that.
the backhand sort of filming of your interview out there too, just to keep things impartial. Satellites move. Switch to another one. Yeah, you're back.
Okay. So, no, I'm still impressed. Look, New Zealand connection. I'm not going to complain.
Hey, thanks for the little dance there. That was good.
Oh, this whole thing? Yeah. Turned into like a rave.
I hope no one's asked this already, but what do you think the best thing we could do to strengthen the community, like especially here in New Zealand? Is there anything you think we could?
Yeah. Spread the word. At this point, remember, right currently, as we're living and breathing now, it is turned into a social media world.
Absolutely.
No matter where you are. I mean, there's if you believe the number, 7 billion people on the planet and 6 billion of these things.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew that in the beginning I said that the first rule of Flat Club is that, I know I'm stealing from the 1999.
We all do.
First rule of Flat Club is you do not talk about Flat Club. But even in the movie, everyone knew you were talking about it, but it was in hushed tones. I still to this day, I preach the same thing. Just tell the people, tell who you want to, but size up your audience. Meaning, the people that you're talking to about this, one of the biggest flaws of flat earthers, you find people like that, is that they forget the time it took them to adjust to what they had already heard. Meaning, so every one of you guys out there, I don't know, the woman in the long ponytail, she may have taken 3 hours to solve this thing. Other people may have taken 3 days, other people may have taken 3 weeks. However, when you flip, you forget that time that it took. And it's like, oh yeah, I can convince my best friend in an hour. Absolutely, over coffee. I'm gonna tell my family over some sort of holiday meal. No. That's a terrible idea. Size up your audience. And down there, again, it's a little different from up here. The first thing that's really worked for us up here is question, I'll put it in context for you guys, question the Americans. Meaning question the American space program.
Oh, we do.
Yeah. Over here, go team, wave the flag, rah, rah, we went to the moon. Why did you guys believe it?
Yeah.
Just because we told you? Come on.
90% of us do believe that's crap.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad because I know people in my country don't like me saying this, but look, don't believe the Americans.
Hell no. Yeah.
They lie about everything. There's in fact, I can't find a single bit of our history that we haven't twisted in some way.
For sure.
So, and the
We're
American
no
space
better.
program. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We're no better. Our governments know better. They feed us, treat us like mushrooms. Keep us in the
Yeah,
dark.
but they didn't tell you guys that you went to the moon.
No. We could have got there in a
Seriously,
stony
they told us. It was like they said, oh yeah, by the way, we went in 1969 and then we kept going until 1972 and then apparently the ratings were low on television, so we just shut the whole thing down and then nobody went back.
First we could get there, but now we can't.
We lost the technology to do that.
We've lost the technology and it's
We destroyed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm getting back to that point though.
Cool.
The reason why you asked them about the Americans going to the moon is that's a really good step towards what we're doing. You have, if they believe it's like, oh yeah, the Americans absolutely went there, planted the flag, go team. Well, then you got to take whoever you're talking to very, very slowly. Because now, if they say, I've always had doubts about, I'm not going to do your guys' accent, about the Americans, then you have somewhere to go with them. But if they say, oh, absolutely, they went to the moon, and the Russians and Russian and the American space program, they were top notch. It's like no.
You can't give
And
a
I
big
could go
grade
on
or a
and on about
PhD.
that.
What's your view on satellites, Mark? What's your view on satellites?
I actually think there's something up there.
Definitely.
But I
High
don't.
altitude balloons.
Whoa, wait, who said what? Wait,
High altitude balloons.
Yeah.
Helium balloons.
There's some wonderful footage that came out, 18 months ago?
Yeah.
Where, they were launching that 4-ton, and wait, is ton still a thing down where you guys are?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we get it.
Okay, you get what ton is? Which is what, 8,000 pounds? I don't know what it is.
1,000 kg.
Whatever. We Americans, we never took to the whole metric thing because, well, we're American. They launched a 4-ton satellite via balloon and it crashed into that SUV. And it's like, look, if you can launch a 4-ton satellite from a balloon using hydrogen because it's got more lift, then why would you ever, and that's cheap, that's pennies on the dollar, why would you ever use a rocket for anything? But to that point, if you guys want to have some fun, if you have the means to do so, and I don't know what the import rules are from Russia, or if you guys have Amazon New Zealand down there?
No.
What do you have instead of Amazon?
Trade me.
Trade me.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Something called night vision binoculars. If you get a chance.
Got some.
Night vision binoculars, not binoculars, not the single one, but the dual. You want them both eyes. There's a night vision binocular company that I really took to. I went through like 6 or 7 different brands, and the one I used was called Night Owl, and it comes in 2.5 power, 3 power, 5 power, and I think they cost 400 American, but that changed my life. That was way before Flat Earth.
Yeah.
Meaning, I got, you lay on your back. I was in Colorado, and I was watching what I thought was to be the satellites. When you're looking up there, when your eyes get adjusted.
Yep.
And then after a while, I watched a satellite, or a series of satellites, just kind of slow down, stop, look like they were lost for a while,
I've seen
like
that.
bad directions,
Yeah.
and then go ballistic and take off.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, what the hell's up there? I know, yeah, is there a lot of stuff up there? Yeah.
Hell
Do I think
yeah.
that most of it has anything to do with us? Not a chance.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Hell yeah.
That was at least 3 years before I got to Flat Earth.
In New Zealand, we're quite lucky. We had the first television news company to film a so-called UFO ever to go public and worldwide. That was across our 2 islands, Cook Strait,
Nice.
back in the late 70s, I believe it was.
Kaikoura.
Kaikoura,
Yes,
yeah,
if you guys want to see a cool UFO sighting, in fact, you can look it up, or I can send it to you. If you want, you can email me. My email address is everywhere.
Hell yeah.
Easy to find. It was up in north of here in Victoria, if you guys know where that is, in the northwest part of Canada. It was in a place called Oak Bay, and it was shot. It was completely covered on film, where this thing was flying at dusk without lights at a low altitude over these sailboats, and everyone was freaking out. It was absolutely amazing. And of course, my favorite UFO sighting of all time, which wasn't recorded in my video because it didn't exist, but if you guys want to look it up, it's called the 1561 Nuremberg Event.
Yeah, I've
over Germany.
read about that.
Brilliant. It's just astounding.
The whole town seen the event, didn't they?
Yeah.
There was a whole town of people that seen the event, correct?
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
There was a whole town of people that seen the event.
Oh yeah, the whole
Yeah.
city of Nuremberg, Germany.
Yeah.
It was a. I'll break it down for you real quick. It was a beautiful spring morning in April of 1561. Nuremberg, Germany was one of the biggest cities in Europe at the time, and 2 giant space aircraft carriers just showed up over the city and started, slugging it, like a gang fight, like a brawl, just going at it back and forth for an entire hour. Where the people were sitting there eating their toast and schnitzing and watching all this, to where the newspaper guys actually came out and sketched the whole thing. And they had plenty of time. But what was weird was, and the Ancient Alien guys didn't even cover this. What was weird, and you can look it up if you get a chance, the woodcut's just astounding.
Yeah,
Is a third faction showed up. A single black giant angular craft pulled up between them. These guys freak out and take off, and then it kind of, just kind of, lingers away. I'm going, wait a minute. And the reason why Ancient Aliens didn't cover it is because it raised too many questions.
Right.
Like, okay, who were the first two groups that were fighting? Who was the third group? What sort of hierarchy is there? Were those the cops? Were they the UN? Who were those guys? And of course, my biggest question, what sort of response time is an hour? With spaceships. It's like, your local police, they'll be there in less than 10 minutes. An hour for these guys to show up? I don't know how or whatever happened, but it made me think, it's like, okay, it kind of added to the depth of where we are, which is, we're in something that is not a one-off. We're not the first people to rent this apartment, not by a long shot. And I think there's older versions of us.
Hell yeah.
That we have history. Our history goes back 5,000 years, and then there's a gap, and then there's more history. The sunken cities off of India, the sunken cities off of Japan, the Bosnian pyramids, the real pyramids. How old are those things? There's a lot of gaps in our history which seem to be filled in by other versions of us that have rules to follow, which is why I love the 1561 thing so much.
All right.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Cool. Who's that?
So Mark, I know I've seen this you say this a few times, but just to let everyone else know, what would convince you that the world might be a globe?
Oh, and that's changed.
Oh,
Thank
it changed
God
now?
No, thank God you asked that, because that changed recently for me. As you know, and you can look this up on my channel, I had people coming to me unsolicited, subject matter experts, all branches of the military, structural engineers, air traffic controllers, pilots, you name it. Anyone that had to do anything with shipping. All these people were coming forward and saying that, look, we've all heard about the curvature of the Earth and the Coriolis effect, but none of us use it in real life.
Yeah.
None of it use it in our 9-to-5 jobs. It's just something we heard about. It's like, yeah, it's in the manual. Throw out that thing. We don't care. So I had two different experts. One was an industrial engineer specializing in valves and seals, and his company supplied seals for United States military submarines and their hatches. Because they have to be really, really strong. Because if a compartment gets flooded in a submarine, you don't want everybody else to die. So those hatches have to be really, really specialized and very, very custom engineered. And he's going, look, the ISS cannot. The International Space Station, cannot work the way it's advertised. It cannot be the way that people say it is. And he goes, it's mostly because of the vacuum pressure. And it's like, yeah, it's good. And I moved on to other things. And then I had a second guy come on, and I know I'm taking a long time to answer this, but you'll see the point in a second. The other guy was a vacuum expert, and he developed clean rooms for electronics. So if you're making electronics, you have to make chambers that are absolutely atmosphere free. It's not just dust, there's nothing in there at all, it's a vacuum. And he goes, you don't know how hard it is to create a vacuum in these things. They are, just to get it's in 3 stages, like 1 to 98%, it's a very, very powerful pump. 98 to 99, it takes so much horsepower, you couldn't even put it in a car. And he goes, in the last percentage, there isn't enough horsepower to do it, you have to do it chemically. And I go, what's your point? He goes, my point is, He goes. The vacuum, the force of a vacuum, the equalization of atmosphere versus no atmosphere, has so many ramifications when it comes to flat Earth. There's nothing that NASA can stand on. Which means, like, first off, there is where's the bleeding edge where the atmosphere ends and the vacuum of space begins? That's the first thing you have to look at. It's like, why is our atmosphere here at all? Because if the vacuum of space is so powerful, you cannot tell me that gravity is counteracting that. Right. But to get your question, it's like, what will prove this? In fact, I'm going to do a clue. I've done 12 clues. I'm going to do a 13th clue on this. Because for me, it is the crux, and you guys get the first shot at kind of listening to this. Is the linchpin in this whole thing isn't the rockets and the space shuttles and the ISS. It's the spacesuit.
Yeah.
Follow with me here for a second. Which is, look, the vacuum of space is really, really powerful. which means anything that has a pocket of air in it will try to equalize. And if you have a really, really strong vacuum, that pocket, so like you can take a little balloon with hardly any air in it at all, put it in a vacuum chamber, it just blows up and up and up because it tries to equalize out, right?
Or the tires on the Tesla.
The tires on the Tesla, of course. Yeah, if there was even a pound of pressure in Elon Musk's Tesla car, those tires would have maxed out, detonated, destroyed the fiberglass. That car was impossible. Not to mention the windshield, the hot and cold, those would have all shattered.
Yeah.
And of course, my favorite thing, which is the corporate side, which is, okay, there was two big companies involved here, Tesla and SpaceX, and there wasn't a single logo anywhere to be found, anywhere. You're not going to advertise even on your own company? Come on.
Sure.
Not to mention all the other companies that would have paid huge money to put their logos on the side of that car.
For sure.
So
No
my
facing
challenge,
outwards either.
which is going to, you want to know what's going to prove to me? Because people, initially it was, okay, put a 4K camera on the side of a rocket, launch it up, make sure nobody freaking hits the pause button or the stop button, and the Earth finally curves below and hits the Earth, right? Unedited footage, which we can analyze. Really, really tough to get because you need a space program to go along with it. It's problematic at best. And then I thought, wait a minute. And it reminded me of a debate I had with a guy who said, what you really need is a test that can be done on the ground. I go, and finally it took, after 3 years, it's like, yeah, I got it. I got a test that can be done on the ground. Wow. Get me in a freaking spacesuit.
All right.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
Meaning the astronaut suit cannot act the way that it says, right? You guys can look this up if you get a chance. It's really, really fascinating. And that is, whenever you see astronauts training, where are they training? Anybody?
In the pool. What a pool.
Pool, swimming pool, 20 feet down. That's it. Just a giant Olympic swimming pool with a replica of the ISS. And I was thinking, wait a minute, why are they training in a swimming pool? I go, that's the exact opposite of where you want to train, because that's the pressure's coming in, it's like 20 feet. Right? Sure, it show a water leak, but and plus you get resistance. You're not going to have any resistance in a vacuum. The reason why they're training in a swimming pool is because they are scared to death of training in a vacuum chamber. Try to find any video footage, and I'm not kidding you. I just
There is
doing
actually
this last week.
Yeah.
They pass out.
Any video
Yeah, they
footage of
pass
an
out. The
astronaut
blood
in a
starts to
vacuum
boil.
chamber in their suit. Not a G-force suit. Don't be confused. Don't get tricked by this.
Yeah.
A G-force suit is for fighter pilots. It's part of the plane. You know, it's just a skin-tight suit with some coils and you're hooked up to
Yeah.
you're hooked to the plane. I'm talking about the Apollo astronauts running on the moon in a self-contained suit. It's fascinating because everybody missed it, including me, which is an astronaut suit. Yeah, fine. It has heating, it has cooling, it has oxygen, it regulates humidity. That's easy. That's basically a scuba suit, right? With a heater on it and a cooler on it. That's easy.
It's pressure.
Vacuum part, that's the really, really tough part. Here's why. If the suit is in a vacuum of space, any pockets of air that are in that suit will immediately expand and try to get out, which means the suit will pump up like a snare drum. It'll go extremely tight to the point where it might as well be wood.
Yeah, you can
and then
see
it'll
it.
burst, and then they will die.
Stay pumped
But
marshmallow, man.
that's not what we see. You can't keep air in a soft pocket like that. That's why submarines are built with heavy steel. You can't keep air like, also why the ISS can't work, because you're talking about basically an aluminum and plastic shell. Kind of like that woman, if you guys heard that news, that woman that was sucked out of the window up here.
Yeah.
When the glass cracked. The reason why she was sucked out of the window is because the pressure was trying to equalize, and that was only at 30,000 feet.
Yeah.
So my challenge, again, what would prove it to me? Fine, you give me an astronaut suit, self-contained, that with a magical backpack that can supposedly stop anything, including a vacuum, and put me in a vacuum chamber, and you pull the lever. You're going, Mark, you're gonna die. This is a horrible, terrible idea. No, it's not. Here's the catch, right? I want two suits. I want one for me, and one for the guy that's challenging me. Give me somebody from the science side. It's like, oh, you trust science so much? You're on the suit too. You go into the chamber with me. We'll pull the lever together.
I nominate Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, Neil.
And more
Neil
nine.
deGrasse Tyson.
Let's chuck him in
And I
one.
know you guys didn't see it because it was copyrighted, but I did an interview with one of my guys, one of our astronauts, Terry Virts, with Piers Morgan over in London. I was coming into this guy and he was there on the stage. Terry would not talk to me. absolutely would not even engage, wouldn't say my name. I wished him happy birthday. I knew in advance it was his 50th birthday. I wished him happy birthday, was trying to talk to him. He would not even say my name. The next astronaut I run into, or whoever it is from science, maybe even the guys down in Los Angeles when I did this thing, that's my challenge. It's like, okay, give me an astronaut suit. We'll go in and let's prove this suit. The suit cannot, what I'm getting, a short version for you guys, the suit cannot work.
Exactly.
No, you know that.
It cannot do it as it does, because any pocket of air has to equalize with its outside environment.
That's dead right.
That's dead right, Mike.
They look like the Michelin Man.
Exactly. And yet they can bend their fingers and manipulate small machinery with gloves that
Oh
are
my
supposed
God!
to be so
Yeah, the
pressurized.
gloves, the gloves would never in a million, yeah, they're doing electronics outside. No, the gloves, you might as well be wearing oven mitts and trying to.
Exactly. And with the Hasselblad camera, they could not even push the shutter button.
No.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there's no way. And people missed it. I missed it too.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, because once you see it the first time, you think, oh, no one thinks about the vacuum of space. It's one of those things we don't teach in even high school physics. We don't talk about it a lot. But universities know. They know that a vacuum is very, very, very strong. If you, again, look it up when you get a chance. Find me an astronaut with video, not that still shot crap. Find me video of an astronaut. In fact, there was only one that I ever saw, and that was a G-force suit in about the mid-1950s, and he almost died.
Yeah, man.
Like he was in there for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
leaking
I
his
don't
suit.
think it was even 30 seconds, Mark. I think it was more like about 10 seconds and he dropped.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And if you guys don't know what the effect of a vacuum does on a human body, I'll tell you real quick. One of the unique qualities of a vacuum room is that, okay, so, and I don't know if you have high altitude, well, you have some high altitude down where you guys are. So, you know, you have to adjust recipes, like cooking recipes for high altitude, right? Right, you know why?
Water boiling at a lower temperature and a higher altitude.
Yeah, exactly. So as you get up higher, water boils at a less and less temperature, up until the point when you get into a pure vacuum, water boils at basically nothing, room temperature, just starts bubbling. It's not that it's getting hot, but it's just boiling away because the temperature, the conditions have reduced it that much. And the same thing happens in the human body. So when this guy was exposed to a vacuum, all of a sudden he could feel things in his...
tickling in his lips.
The closest thing you guys would experience to it, if you ever know anyone that scuba dives, why don't you ever rise faster than the bubbles? You know, the rule of scuba diving is because you're going to get the bends, right?
That's right.
Same sort of thing with the astronauts. You know, if they're put in a vacuum chamber exposed to it, they will immediately get the bends right away. It's horrible. It's awful. So that's my challenge. Sorry, my long ass answer.
No, cool.
Mark, I saw a video on a YouTube video of exactly what you're talking about. This guy's, they want to test his responses, so they put him in a vacuum chamber, just normally closed.
Wow.
And he, when it got to a certain level where he passed out, they rushed in there, and he said that 5 seconds before he passed out, he could feel the saliva on his tongue boiling.
That is what you're describing there is one of the only instances ever. So if I ever run into Scott Kelly or Terry Burks or Tim Peaks or any of those guys, one of my first questions is like, okay, did you ever test your suit in a vacuum chamber? And I know their answer would be like, well, no, but I knew guys that did. Really? Where's the freaking video?
It did.
It should. The point is, it should be a very, very simple test. It can be done on the ground. It can be done for cheap. Of course, you have to have NASA sign off on it because they got to give you the suit or the suits, and you got to sign the waiver. I would happily sign it. I'd be like, you want to call my bluff? It's like, if you die, it's not our fault. It's like, yeah. Make me a flat earth martyr. I dare you. You're never going to do it. That's what would happen. If something happens in that regards, I win. And of course, if they put somebody else in the room with me, oh my God, then they can just claim anything they want. So.
And with what you were saying about unedited, unstopped footage going up, with the rocket and that,
right.
I feel the same thing with the vacuum test with the hammer and the feather. When are we ever going to see that without any cut, And I mean, the mainstream one that you see, they drop one feather, and then the next picture they show you, there's 3 feathers, and then they cut back to them both hitting, and it's 1 feather again.
Yeah, that was Brian Cox.
Yes, Brian Cox.
Yeah, that was Brian Cox.
Yep.
That reminds me, by the way, of the, because I have to take a minute or two to do another Tesla rant. Because if you guys saw, I'm sure it was broadcast down there as well, where Elon Musk sent the car into space, one of his roadsters, and it was the finest example of misdirection I've ever seen in my life. It was really, in this regard, everything else was a piece of crap. But there was one thing they got absolutely right, which was, the thing goes up, the 3 boosters fall off, one goes off in the Bermuda Triangle, wherever, and the 2 land in Florida at the Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, right.
And those 2 rockets supposedly land right next to each other, and I get why they try to do that, because if you land them separately, people get confused. So you got to do that one shot, and I get that. But then so the rockets land, and they cut straight to the car.
Wow.
And everybody missed it. Where was the main booster and the car and the capsule opening up and this main booster falling away, right? This thing was huge.
Yes,
that was
true.
basically the big Falcon rocket. The others were just boosters. And the reason why they didn't show it is because they were trying to do it on the cheap. So they only had 2 layers. They had the car layer and they had the Earth layer. They couldn't show the booster because then you'd have to blend the 2. It's like, okay, we're going from the car layer and into the Earth layer. They didn't want to spend the money. I firmly believe that the Elon Musk thing was a test to see, and remember, they can judge this in social media now in real time and see how much the public buys it. A test to see, can you fake space on the cheap? Can you fake space without spending $50 million a day?
That's what, no, they need to come to a Weta workshop here in Wellington.
And they learned that people had a hard time swallowing.
Yeah.
Sorry, who was that?
No, I was just saying they should come to a Weta workshop in New Zealand that does work in Hollywood. They'll do a damn better job than whatever they did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the limb module looks like sticky tape and cardboard.
Well, it is. It simply is.
Elon Musk is probably one of my new favorite people to hate, because every time he opens his mouth, every headline he generates, it's just the weirdest stuff, and it's so, he makes claims that even your best futurist would never do, even after like a half a bottle of whiskey. They would never do it. He's like, we're going to send 2 tourists around the moon in 2018. That's right now. That was supposed to happen. No, never. We're going to colonize Mars by 2022. We're going to have a super plane go from the United States to China, and it's only going to cost like a little bit more than an economy ticket. And then, like just today, he says, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna have Boeing develop a super drilling machine that's gonna drill a hole from Los Angeles to San Francisco in 10 days." Where are you coming up with this crap? And the media reports everything he says. Everything he says is fine. You got a few $1 billion. I don't care.
Exactly. His truest statement was, "It looks so fake, it must be real," but
that statement, that followed by "I'm tripping balls right now," which I don't think has ever been uttered by a billionaire ever in history.
Oh, did you hear the one in the interview? And he says the hardest bit about the returning rockets was deleting the CGI footage of the wires. Why would you need a wire on a rocket? You just reverse the footage, right?
And yet he's going to go down in history. Well, hopefully not. People will, a lot of people don't even know that Tesla was not invented by him. You ask like any kid on the street, say who invented Tesla? They say Elon Musk. Like no, he bought Tesla. There's a big difference. Right? He made his money. If you guys don't know how Elon Musk made his money, he helped invent PayPal. And then he got a huge amount of government loans, and the government knew that, the United States government knew that he was their guy, he was their go-to guy. So it's like, look, we'll keep you in private jets forever, just generate the headlines that we want you to generate. And he's been doing a great job in that regard, but man, I hate him.
Thanks for telling the truth as an American.
Look, America generates a huge amount of media. We do, and there is so much of it that can be manipulated. I mean, I have a hard time. I'm older, and so I don't. When I grew up with it, I became cynical pretty quickly. Like, you know, other than American baseball, all our other sports are pretty much compromised, and our movies are just propaganda. I'll give you, here's a quick example. I got a chance to, I was fortunate enough to visit pyramids years ago, because I wanted to see them for myself. And it's like, okay, what, you know, people keep going on about it. And I was over there, and there was a field trip for a bunch of Egyptian kids, and they were coming up to us. And it's like, and they were like fawning over, like pawing me and crap. It's like, what the heck's wrong with you guys? And they said, and I go, what's with the kids? Right? They go, oh, you're the first Americans they've seen outside of television. Wow. I go, and? Wow. And they go, well, you know, your television, the shows that show your life, you know, in America. I go, really? What shows are those? And I go, you know, Dallas, Dynasty, Falcons, Crest. It's like, you guys are all millionaires, right? And I'm going, oh my God. Wait, is the American government allow those shows to be broadcast in the Middle East to make it seem like, you know, Americans walk around and have servants and private planes and helicopters and stuff like that? Kids absolutely believed it. Absolutely, they thought we literally were rock stars. And it's like, so it just blew my mind, but I completely understood. When
Hey, Mark, can I go back to the rockets? With Elon Musk and SpaceX, you say that he's on board and they pay him to spiel a certain message. I just wonder what you think about the New Zealand Rocket Lab, which was an amateur kind of company, rocket company, that nobody was interested in until they did a successful test. And the first successful test that they'd done, they said they got to the altitude that they wanted, but something strange happened. It stopped and it suddenly stopped. The rocket suddenly stopped and they couldn't work out why. And then all of a sudden, NASA were interested in Rocket Lab and came here as advisors and that. And so I just wonder what you think about the whole hierarchy and how that works as far as pressuring private rocket companies into getting on board.
In the beginning, and again, the beginning was not that long ago, you know, remember the space programs only go back, NASA was founded in 1958, and they were following the Soviet Union, which was 1957, 1956.
Need another 7 astronauts.
There you go, NASA, need another 7 astronauts. Nice, good Challenger joke there. Wait, Challenger joke? Is that Challenger? Yeah. Yeah, and I was there. I was in university when that thing blew up. The hierarchies are not necessarily complicated. Everybody blueprinted off of us. It's like they went to every country, the industrialized country, and said, "Hey, anyone want to do sort of a space program?" Because remember, the subtext. That's all they care about. It doesn't matter if the rocket program works, if it doesn't work, if things blow up on the pad, whatever. What matters is the subtext. Meaning, we'll just use the American space program and the Soviets, you know, just as an example, because we generate probably the flashiest headline, which is, hey, there may be a face on Mars. Look at that thing. Oh, hey, there's a hexagon on the top of Saturn. Oh, we reclassified Pluto as just a rock and stuff like that. You know, oh, maybe we got a probe leaving the solar system. We're probably like, it doesn't matter. They do not care if you even read the article. All they care about is if you glance at the headline. Because if you glance at the headline, their work's done, which is face on Mars because you're on a globe. Hexagon, Saturn, globe. Pluto, globe. Probe, globe. It's all they care about. It's always the same message. They do not care if if your space program. You guys froze. Am I dead?
No, you're still going. Yep. You're there.
You guys froze for a second. That's okay.
We do that.
Or maybe I just froze with you. Maybe you guys were just staring. Just, the camera's centered in on the woman right in the middle. Sorry.
So close to Antarctica down here.
Yeah, we're cold.
So Mark, from your viewpoint, what is their agenda in terms of pushing the globe rather than the flat Earth firmament?
The why.
Oh, it's all just look. Anyone that's watched the clues, you'll know, but I'll give it to you really quick. People in power don't take chances with with their power, which means even if there's a 10% chance that the people will riot with pitchforks and torches and just start burning the place down, they're not going to take that chance. Real quick, there's 3 things that would change overnight. You know, let's say, for example, the UN announced tomorrow, erroneously, that the world was flat, right? Let's just say they announced it. That wouldn't be the way to go, but let's just say they went that route. All of a sudden, the religion, all your major religions, you know, Hinduism, Judaism, Buddhism, Islamic Christianity, those big five, they would now have leverage to go against science and say, hey, guys, you've been beating us over the head with King James for the last 400 years, and we got a couple of questions for you. And that would, you know, science is no way, you know, it's like, if you were wrong about this, what else are you wrong about? You're wrong about evolution, you're wrong about the Big Bang. You combine all these three things, that's a meeting, if you remember the X-Files show from years ago, that's a smoking man meeting that lasts about 10 minutes. That meeting is over real quick. You just rattle off this, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? And you rattle off that stuff, it's like, yeah, we're not going to be doing this anytime soon. It's not that they wouldn't. It's not that they wouldn't do it eventually. But they like anything, you use the information to your advantage, and then you have a contingency plan. You can't hide this forever, and that's where we are now. I mean, it's kind of like, if any of you have ever had roommates, right? It's kind of like hiding cigarettes from your roommate. You can move it around here and there, and under the couch, and other things.
Mark, what sort of resources in terms of like teaching children, like the next generation, to start understanding flat Earth and, you know?
Teach them both. I get that question all the time. I don't
like
know
what
if
sort
you
of
guys-
resources are out there already, and you know, because it's all great for us to know, but how do we? Yeah, how do we? I mean, even our own children.
Do you guys have like homeschooling, the same thing we do up here, where you
Yeah,
the applications
only a few
classes
though.
are
Like
good?
it's not as huge. Homeschooling is not as big as other places.
It's not as big.
No,
The people that I taught, okay, there's two ways you could go about this. One is if you homeschool, which I probably very few of you do, you teach them both. It's like, okay, mainstream's going to teach you this. Here's the other view. You choose, right? However, most of the people that go to public school, the parents have not been shy, and it's actually tracked very, very well. In fact, I did a speech at the conference where somebody sent me an email where there's a whole bunch of parents. It's like, look, just so you know, don't believe everything you hear in the classroom, right? We all, and the intro to it is this. We all know that the old saying that history is written by the winners, right? We all know that one. The better one, though, in my opinion, was the one by Napoleon, who said, history is just lies that are agreed upon. Yeah, which really is more accurate, which is after the battle is won, you sit in a room and it's like, okay, how are we going to spin this exactly? It's like, we did a lot of horrible things. We got to make this note, because nobody wants to show their bad side. Nobody wants to be the villain. Nobody wants to be there with the black handlebar mustache, twirling it, and you know, with a black hat. So when it comes to the kids, again, it depends on the school system. You don't want to get them in trouble. You don't want to. Sometimes kids don't want to be picked on as well, but sometimes they respond pretty well to it. It's like, you know, if you just like, you know, kind of treat it like it's a secret. Kind of like, hey, I got some inside info for you. You know, but don't tell your friends, which means they're going to tell their friends. You know, and I've seen this. I've seen some great schoolyard videos where kids are, you know, sitting there during breaks in the schoolyard, going, "Yeah, man, what's going on? Flat Earth, that's what's going on." You know, and people, they'll make fun of it for a while, but you know, there's too much media out there.
As long as they're over Santa Claus first.
The what?
As long as they're over Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny first.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on Santa Claus. That's a sore spot for me because CNN, you know, cable news network here, CNN actually ran a story about 15 months ago where we literally, you know, I don't know if they do the same thing there where the local news says, okay kids, you gotta get in bed because our Santa radar is showing that he's heading this way, right? We actually had our national news service say that not only is Santa coming, but for the first time ever, the United States Air Force is escorting him. Like F-18 fighters, and they had graphics and the whole 9 yards. And completely deadpanned. I mean, completely, like, they had a Pentagon correspondent there, you know, saying that, yes, you know, the United States military is taking over this year with the whole Santa Claus thing. And other countries were mad because we had exclusive rights.
Yeah, bad luck for you, Russia.
The what?
Bad luck for Russia.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad luck for us. But they never once broke into it. You know, they didn't even crack a smile. I'm going, oh, you guys are killing me. Seriously, you're gonna do that to the whole Santa thing? But the point is if they can do that, then just about anything is possible.
Dead right.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
You're talking about the 1561 Nuremberg Ufo Battle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was a battle apparently in 1945. Admiral Byrd went down south
Yep.
and he battled with some other continent of people that were very
Yep.
advanced.
Okay, so the rumor here, the story behind that is this. In 1940, actually I think it was 1946, because remember the treaty, when Pearl Harbor surrendered, it's okay, if we're off by a year, that's fine. So Admiral Byrd, if you guys don't know, the youngest United States admiral in the history of our Navy, and really instrumental in this entire thing, was really how I got into Flat Earth, was because I kind of dabbled in his, because he's more known for the Hollow Earth theory.
He was
goes
a
up to the North
33
Pole.
degree.
What?
He was a 33-degree Freemason.
Yes, he was. Absolutely was.
Yeah.
He was. Of course he was going to be. You know, you don't make So he goes up to the North Pole in 1926, I believe, and then turns around in 1928. He keeps doing missions down in Antarctica. They take a break for the war, World War II, and literally nobody was on the ice in Antarctica except for one country. Who was that? Germany, Nazi Germany, which fits right with the whole Indiana Jones thing. You know, and that makes sense. You know, it's like, look, if you can find Harry Potter's wand to win the war, you're gonna have to go look for this damn thing. And they were looking everywhere for everything, and they go down to Antarctica. And then right after Pearl Harbor Surrender Treaty is signed in 1945, Admiral Byrd leads a full-blown carrier fleet called and this is not classified information, look this up, down to Antarctica called Operation High Jump. Interesting title. And the story really kind of stops when you get there. Everything else is more or less rumor, meaning he had a deal, you know, there's people that say he was trying to root out the last of the Nazis.
That's the powers that be.
It doesn't work. If you said it worked,
The Chinese stop us watching now.
I had the time.
Word shifted, you can grab up. Nope. Sorry.
What was he there saying?
Okay.
EDC had to change the tape.
Here's what I thought was interesting. Regardless of what you believe as far as Operation High Jump goes, by the time you get to 1954, and if you haven't seen the footage, absolutely look it up. It's all over YouTube. You can find it anywhere. Where Admiral Byrd goes on the American talk show called the Longines Chronoscope, Longines Chronoscope, which was a watch company, kind of like the 60 Minutes of its day. And he goes on there and he talks about his missions and Antarctica. And what I'm saying is, in 1954, by the time he got to that talk show, he didn't have a care in the world. So they took care of whatever it was. Now, the story that I like the most, as far as the whole Nazi-American last battle in Antarctica thing, the story that I liked the most was that the Nazis were losing, and they asked for asylum from a civilization that was down there, and said, look, we need a little help, and they said, okay, we'll help you, but you can't come back. You know, kind of like asylum. All right, you can come with us, but you're never coming back here. And that was it. That was the end of the Nazi Germany. Or at least the last part of it. That's part of the story I like the most. But what was interesting was when Admiral Byrd comes in 1954, he's talking about Antarctica like it's just a business proposition. He's just talking about, it's like, yeah, money to be made here, just about everything, there's lots of countries, we're setting up shop, we're going to keep going there for the next 100 years. And then, of course, as you guys know, as soon as he goes to the very next mission, which he talked about in the show, called Operation Deep Freeze in 1955 to 1956, the Antarctic Treaty is put in place, and Antarctica is locked down to corporations forever and ever. Amen. So,
Bird's the word.
There was an article. I've got a Facebook page called the Iron Republic.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's about the Antarctic. I'm fascinated with it because back in in 1898, there was a really rich fellow, used to be a politician, bought a ship, hired a crew, and he wanted to go and search the Arctic North.
Right.
Okay, but one of the skippers of the crew said, I'm really, I know a lot about the, down south, the Antarctic Circle, so he said, yep, we'll go down there. And there's a true story, it says it's a true story, that came out in the Florida Science Journal in 1905. This is online, you can get it, there's a PDF on the page and an audio to listen to this true account. And this has been hidden from us because they actually lived at the Iron Republic, which is another continent beyond the south, and that was the one that's got the advanced, and it ties in with the Byrd thing. Now, when they came back, because they lived there for a year, they came back and the ship was actually open as a museum with all the evidence on it. Now, where is that gone?
Good point.
Can we find that person's family? Because that ties in. What happened after that, when it was in the Science Journal, that started a what Wikipedia calls a 20-year heroic expedition of the Antarctic Circle. Every man and their dog was trying to go down there and find this channel through over the Dark Sea and all of that. See? So the Buddhist map has 32 continents out there beyond the ice ring.
That's right.
I mean, there's other populations. Apparently, at the time, there was 15 million people from America area and other people that were Greek and stuff as well, all sorts of nationalities. And there is that fertile land. It's cold, but they had this fantastic, I don't know how many people, 100 years more later, how much would the population be? Some people don't believe the story, but it was, published as a truthful account.
I wake up every morning with Flat Earth. I cannot even begin to judge stories that the 3 years ago I would laugh at. And there are it would not surprise me at all because remember, this isn't a one-off. No way, no how. Not only are we not the first civilization to live in this place, but there's got to be more of these things out there in probably different stages of technology. And the Iron Republic, I love that story, and I think the Iron Republic is just the tip of the iceberg. No play on words. That's out there. One of my favorite things was something that Kristen Cherie Geo from TFR found, which was I think it was an ancient Japanese map, where it showed, our UN flag sort of world surrounded by some sort of barrier, and then outside of that, were a whole bunch of continents that I think are under some protocol. That makes sense, though. I mean, art imitates life, the whole Prime Directive of Star Trek.
So how far does the dome go? If there's more...
Oh, that's an excellent question.
It stretches out like 10.
Does the dome go beyond Antarctica and the ice?
Oh, yeah. There's no... Think of it this way, if Admiral Byrd is flying his own planes from 1928 until, 1928 until about 1956, that's pushing up 30 years, and he was a good pilot. And the planes were getting better and better every year. They're flying out there, It's gotta be thousands of miles. From the Antarctic coastline. So it would be sort of like a giant salad bowl on top of I don't know what your biggest coin is down there, but on top of the biggest coin. So the coastline starts wherever the coastline starts, and that's where the mainstream media loves to pick on us. It's like, wow, it's the ice wall, it's Game of Thrones, that's where it ends. Like, no. In fact, if Murphy's Law, if you guys know what Murphy's Law is, Admiral Byrd is flying for 30 freaking years, and then finally in 1954 he basically gives up and says, all right,
53.
Let's, everyone, all the powers that be think, okay, the map's gotta be wrong because we can't find it. So, and then literally the second they say, okay, we give up, that's when they find it.
Awesome.
The outer marker has gotta be thousands of miles out there, which is what I would do if I built it.
Because there was a guy in 1926 who took a black and white photograph from the outer ring of Antarctica and it shows the dome. It shows the dome.
It's an interesting picture, and if it is the dome, it's still going to be really, really, really far away.
Yeah. And it looks like water.
It looks like a rainbow. Sometimes it looks like...
Yeah, it looks like there's water behind the glass dome or behind whatever the dome is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the other optical things, sundogs, the way sundogs are created.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to pick on the rainbow too much, but not only is the rainbow dome-shaped when you look at it from the side, but if you guys ever have fun, look up helicopter footage of the rainbow. Because when they get on
It's a
top
ring.
of it, it's actually a big circle.
A circle, yeah,
That's
I'm a pilot, I've flown, I've seen the circle rainbows.
Yeah, it's a perfect circle.
You're
It's
right.
Like, okay, one of our guys right here, he came up with a really interesting video. He's going, you know what? Rainbows can't be. We can create them indoors. You know, with technology.
That's
With
right.
a mirror.
It's not just water and light. We need a reflective surface. And he goes, where's the reflective surface if you're outside? And it's like, yeah.
The hose.
The dome.
You ever
Yeah.
seen a rainbow in a hose?
Yes,
Yeah.
I've seen the whole circle.
If you actually spray the hose downward and look down, you can see the ring.
You see the circle?
Yeah.
Just on a point of
While we
it.
debate about
On a sunny day with the sun behind you, you just spray it and watch
Hey
it
Mark,
from above.
the second sun that's
Well,
been
just the hose
photographed
on
by
a,
people,
you know,
right?
spray.
Going on about the second sun.
Soul and bowl.
Well, I reckon that, you know,
The
every
second-
now and then, the second sun that people reckon that they're photographing. Video.
Nibiru.
No, Rahu.
The second sun is so freaky. I can only tell you what I've experienced. Oh, there you are. Where have you been?
Stick to the
Hey,
side.
man.
I want you to correlate.
I hope you know you make an appearance in the documentary if you haven't already seen it.
Right.
Pointing to him saying, Kiwi.
I want you to correlate the second sun with the sun down in the Iron Republic. They have another sun down there. So that second
It would
sun,
not surprise me.
which is on a quite an elongated oval pathway circuit apparently.
Let me throw something else at you, because I had a chance to witness, and I know you guys have it down there as well, the Great American Eclipse that happened just last year. Here. And when I saw it, I mean, first of all, if you never get a chance to go into the blackout zone, oh my God, it's nothing short of magic. But what was amazing was I had some of our guys over here who were taking pictures of it, and they were putting it into Photoshop, and one of them called me and he goes, look, he goes, I hate to tell you this, but nothing's causing the eclipse. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, nothing. Nothing is going in front of the sun. I'm going, okay, I'm still not getting it. He's going, the sun is self-eclipsing. He goes, it's no different than a moon in a planetarium. You know, like if you're in a planetarium down where you guys are, you know, how they create crescent moons, waxing and waning, and half moons. They just darken the moon. You know, they just shade off part of the moon. He goes, but up until now, the sun has always been the sun. There's no such thing as a half sun or a crescent sun or anything like that. It only happens during an eclipse. He goes, whatever's happening to the sun has nothing to do with a three-dimensional object that's going in front of it. Now, he goes, if it's two-dimensional, yeah, maybe there might be something to talk about. He goes, but we're not talking about giant spherical orbs, definitely. But to your point over there, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that we do have, because you did do multiple suns and multiple puddles, ponds, whatever this thing is, then yeah, there might be some overlap which would cause some confusing things. Yeah, sure, why not? We're still having problems with the Antarctic sun. Absolutely. So, and of course, not to get in chapter and verse, but the non-canonized book of the Bible, the Book of Enoch.
Yeah.
Boy, you read that again if you haven't taken a look at that. That talks about all sorts of weird stuff that's happening up there. It didn't make sense until it was put into a flat Earth context.
Right.
What else?
What is your take on the difference between science and scientism?
Okay, science, I can boil it down pretty simply. Power corrupts, period. It doesn't matter where you are. Power corrupts industry, it corrupts politics, it corrupts sports, it corrupts entertainment. And it absolutely corrupts science. Look, scientists need Porsches too, right? And they will do, you know, if you want to tell me the boiling temperature of water at sea level, that's fine. But the Americans, and I'll pick on the Americans because I can't speak for you guys. The American scientists, our biggest one would be, for example, when we rush products to market without testing them for money. right? So going all the way back to like lead gasoline, lead paint, DDT, if you know what that is, you know, a mosquito killer that almost wiped out the bald eagle, our national bird. That's a smart move.
Thanks,
Asbestos, great product unless you work in the factory, that'll kill you dead. Or I don't know, one of my favorites is how about all the scientists that took the money to tell us that cigarettes were fine? Yeah. We had television commercials up here where there's like 4 out of 5 doctors prefer Camels. Yeah. Are you insane? And the only reason the lawsuits even happened was because the healthcare industry was just getting beaten by all the lung cancer stuff. And so it was big money versus big money. So as far as scientism goes, I'll pick on Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah. Because his famous line is that science is true whether or not you believe it. And that's one of the most arrogant things I've ever heard in my life. It's like, okay, then I quote all those things. Or one of my favorites, If anyone ever tells you that science is true no matter what, throw them this. You'll love it. There was a guy, a British guy. No, in fact, I think he was down in Nuremberg Event. He was Lord William Kelvin, Kelvin. If it sounds familiar,
The Kelvin scale.
like one of the fathers of thermodynamics, who in absolute temperatures are named after him. So it's like negative 257, whatever it is, Kelvin. Physicists use his name every day, right? He might as well be a Christ version in science, right? And yet, what is he also most known for? He's known for, towards the end of his career, of saying that heavier than air flight will never ever happen. Basically saying is like the airplane, he goes, the Aeronautical Society has no future whatsoever, it's never ever gonna happen. And that, it's like, okay, it's like, so here's the guy of the era, a legend in physics. And he's coming out and saying, oh yeah, because they can only be, they can specialize in certain fields, but then they jump out of their comfort zones and that's where scientism comes in. And they make huge claims that have no bearing on anything. Very similar to like Popular Mechanics, which was a magazine up here, I don't know if they have it down here. 1910, 7 years after he said it, they said, oh yeah, airplanes never gonna be a thing. That airplane thing is never gonna go. It's like, whatever. Which is why I made in the clue.
60 years later, we're on the moon.
The what?
60 years later, apparently, we're on the moon.
Exactly, yeah, 6 years later, we're a good point. 60 years later, we go from like crap planes to moon landing.
But how come there was no blast crater when the limb took off?
Oh, don't get me started on Apollo.
Because you can't burn it over you.
Let me diverge real quick, and then I'll from what I was talking about, which is the Apollo missions. If anyone ever tells you the Apollo missions were absolutely gospel, they absolutely happened, you can kill them usually in 3 moves. First one is intersecting shadows, which, it's like one light source, but oh, hey, let's hire an advertising firm to shoot these great shots to the moon. Oh, they forgot about the fact that there's only one light source. Yeah, that's the first one. No blast crater whatsoever. And my favorite third one is feats of strength. Because remember, the moon is 1/6 gravity. It was like, okay, how did you know it was 1/6 gravity? Yeah. But a 180-pound man only weighs 30 pounds in the moon. Which means, like, Beefcake here in the front row, he'd be so amazingly strong, he could lift just about anything, including the module. Right? But they never did that. Your vertical jump, even white guys can jump at least right? So with a suit, even with the heavy suit, we're talking at least 4 or 5 feet. You should be able to get a range. You should be able to throw things. The car, you should be able to lift with one hand. Never ever saw any of that. The Apollo program was, and then of course, don't get me started on the vacuum tube. But back to Earth real quick, which is why I put it in the clue. One of my favorite things is this is science versus scientific. Science says that the core of the Earth is 4,000 miles down, and it's made of this molten, spinning nickel ball or iron or whatever it is. Doesn't really matter. And I said, wow, what's the deepest probe you've ever drilled? Right? Is it 2,000? That's halfway. Is it 1,000 miles? Because 1% is 40 miles. What's the deepest hole you've ever drilled? Well, 8 miles. Yeah. 12 kilometers. It's like, well, then what the hell are you talking about with the core of the Earth? It's like, oh, well, we're guessing, we're extrapolating versus on volcanic stuff and stuff that's come up. It's like, you have no freaking idea what's down. You have no idea how deep it goes. So why are you telling us? Our old textbooks actually had in fine print at the bottom of that where you saw the cross section of the Earth, with the red, and the orange, the yellow, and the white bands. We actually had small text that says, oh yeah, by the way, we have no freaking idea. We're just kind of guessing, right? And after a number of years, those were removed. Well, pull those things out because then a 10-year-old sees it, it's like, oh yeah, that's the core of the Earth. And then when he's 18, it's like, yeah, still the core of the Earth, and then it's gospel. That's what where scientism comes in. They take leaps of faith that, even the church probably would, well, I shouldn't say that. That's equal to what the church does in some cases.
So they're blinded by their own flashlights.
The what?
The scientists are blinded by their own flashlights.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, yeah. And and by the way, not only are we going to tell you what the core of the Earth looks like, we're going to tell you what the core of Neptune and Saturn and Jupiter and it's like, come on, even if I gave you the benefit out of the Earth, you're not going to be able to tell me what's happening out there. No, not a chance in hell. No. Plus, sorry, there's too many angles I could go off of. All the things of how the world is moving, right? It's spinning, it's going on. But the big one, the one that people miss, is that it's traveling sideways. The whole solar system is traveling sideways, supposedly, through space at 500,000 miles an hour. Okay, so what, right? Well, there's these jet-ins between us, if you believe in mainstream science, so like, there's these null points, they're called Lagrange points, where you get far enough away from the planet and gravity isn't affecting you.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it'd be like throwing a golf ball out the window of your car. Eventually, it's going to slow down. It's going to go and go and go, but eventually it's going to trail off behind you. You're going to lose that golf ball because the car keeps moving forward. That would be the same thing with any probe trying to fly between planets. It would get just pulled away. The solar system would just burn away from it so quickly. Definitely. Here in the moon, probably. So how's that happening? How are you sending a probe outside the solar system? If it was true that second that probe got outside of Earth's gravity, it was gone. It would go like this, and this, and go boom, gone. We lost the rearview mirror.
Well, one thing I always try and keep in mind, Mark, is we owe it to the future generations to let them know it's not wrong to question authority. Yes. We need to teach our juniors that it's the right thing to do to question what we're told. Don't follow everything blindly. Exactly.
There's an old saying, and I don't know which country came up with it. Hopefully it wasn't us. Which was trust everyone, but count your change.
Right.
Meaning, give people the benefit of the doubt, but don't give them everything. Don't give them your unwavering, blind trust. Check it out for yourself. Tesla had a great quote in that regard, where he said that science gets to a point where it's just equations on top of equations on top of equations, to where by the time you get up to a certain level, it's just meaningless. Because nobody bothered to check the foundation that it was built on.
Yep.
Meaning that, everyone assumes that everybody beforehand is right, and I get crap for that quite a bit. They say, well, you're not smarter than Einstein or Stephen Hawking. I'm going, no, I don't have to be.
Exactly.
The problem is with them, look, they're brilliant guys, great math guys, super nerds, all of them. But if the foundations they base their math off is wrong, then it's wrong.
That's right.
There's nothing they can do. That means everybody on top of them was flawed. Every quantum physicist, every string theory specialist, all those guys.
That's right. We can make the mathematics work on a plane as well. It's simply you fit the mathematics to the model you prefer. We can all do that, and if we work it on a plane, it makes more sense. We have a local sun where our skylight, our sunlight shrinks at night. If it was how NASA told us, we would have an equal horizon vanishing at the same time, but we don't see that. We don't see what they tell us. We take it blindly that they're telling us the truth, but we're not physically witnessing this. So how do we wake people up to let them know, look at what you're observing as compared to what
No, that's an excellent question. And I don't know how much longer you want to go.
Cool.
But it goes something like this, because I've done enough of these. I try to tell people this, because remember, whoever you're talking to, they're already in a pretty fragile state of mind.
Yeah.
And I said, look, in fact, if I ever get into a hostile crowd, what I'll tell them is this: I'm not here to convince you. I'm not even here to persuade you. All I'm here to do is put the seed in your head. And that's all all you have to do. Don't wait for the satisfaction of them turning. You're gonna wait a long time. It's never ever gonna happen. That happens when you're quiet, when you're alone somewhere. All you have to do is put the seed in their head.
Sure.
You know if you got to them, because you'll get emails from them. They'll say, hey, what about this? Fill in the blank. What about this? What about this? That's when you know it's already in their head. Same thing happened to me, where I was thinking about it, and then all of a sudden, after banging my head on the keyboard, then it occurred to me one night. I wasn't even drinking. And it's like, oh, this actually is a thing. And then I got into it. You have to let them come to it on their own. You cannot force them. You cannot force them, because you remember, just by talking to them, you've already put them into like one of the 5 stages of acceptance. Right? The 5 stages, right? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. You can't wait for all 5. You just put it in their head and let them spin.
Yeah.
But what I found that works more often than not, and naturally I do it because I absolutely 100% believe it. It's the conviction that hits them. Because if you're talking to them, it's like, yeah, it's flat, and they're going, you're nuts. I'm going, yeah, but it's flat. If you don't waver, that completely throws them, because it's like, well, maybe it's not. No. I know you hardly ever run into anything like that. If you hold your ground, oh my God, they don't know. In fact, the thing I'm doing with National Geographic, that's because, that interview.
Yeah. Oh, you're glitched out on us now, Mark. Hopefully we'll get you back.
It's like, what about this? What about this? What about this? I'm going, yep, this, and this. And they're going, and it's just drove them nuts. Here we are months later, and they're calling up their friends at the Debunking Society. Hey, let's do an experiment. Let's spend a whole bunch of money. Let's see if we can get this guy to renounce flat Earth. I'm going, it's never gonna happen, man. Not now. You had a chance back in 2015, maybe. Not now. The cement is already hardened for me. There's literally, you're talking about a guy now who wants to get into an astronaut suit. It's like the freaking vacuum chamber.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So, thank you very much.
Good to see you, man.
Anything else I can do for you? What time? By the way, you'll have to forgive me, because I've not been down there. One of these days I will have to come down, because I hear great things. And
Across.
Yeah, not down.
Across.
Down is a global term.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Across.
Across.
I will come across. I watched The Lord of the Rings a whole bunch of times.
You'll have plenty of places to stay at, brother.
Hey Mark, before you go, can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
There's so much division and so many factions within the Flat Earth movement.
Yeah.
How do you expect it to gain real traction? I know it's gaining traction as it is, but don't you think there needs to be some sort of unification on set facts?
That's an excellent last question. Here's why. It's already happening. Here's the thing. In fact, the documentary is going to really help, because it's going to polarize everybody. Up until now, the Flat Earth community has sort of been like, if you guys know any history about what's happening somewhere up here, the Scottish Highland clans, right?
Yeah.
They had a whole bunch of clans, they're all swinging swords, they all have flags, and they're all different, and they all just beat the crap out of each other. But what they all can agree on is they hate the English.
Oh, yeah.
They hate the French and English. And that's where because we have, up until now, we haven't had a unified stand. Nobody from science has come out with their own flag and swung it. It's like, yeah, come at me. because they're not that dumb. They just are guys. And so the division we've had, we've got squabbles. But everybody's still in the same, and I talked about this in the documentary, everybody's still in the same, we're all on the same side of the field. I don't mind, and I don't want to get into it. We all know where the camps are. But at the same time, everybody knows the same thing. It's like, we hate the globe, NASA's a bunch of bastards, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Bill Nye, and Brian Cox, and all the others. They're bad guys.
So you think there's enough common points that we all agree on?
Oh yeah. We're fine. The numbers reflect that. The numbers just keep going up and up and up. And people, we've gotten so much mainstream coverage over the last 18 months that it's just wild to watch. So of course I see the dissension in the ranks. But for me, I literally treat it like the freaking Highlands. It's like, whatever, guys, stop freaking hitting each other. We'll be fine. Nobody's doing. Here's why it's going to be fine. Because nobody's doing any permanent damage. Nobody's, the squabbling that we're having. It's in the comments section. Every once in a while, somebody make a video and said, "I don't trust him. He can't be trusted." Fingers are everywhere. But at the same time, science knows. We look. In fact, I had somebody from a creationist museum supposedly come to Raleigh, snuck into the Raleigh conference. And didn't tell anybody who he was, and just watching to see, because this is getting bigger and bigger too, where you can the numbers, you can't repress the numbers forever. And we're tracking higher. We were the #1 search in Google last year. And you can't bury that forever. Now we're at the stage to where we're going to make that next level, and I'm just excited to be a part of it. So.
And it's early days.
Yes.
Early days. Hey, we've got a long time. They've had 500 years of the globe. We've had 4 years of mainstream flat Earth.
Oh, not even.
We can only get better.
Look what we've done in this very nobody can claim what we've done in the short amount of time that we've done, and that's how I know it's the truth, because people are suckers for the truth.
Yeah.
That's an old saying too. And
The truth hurts the skeptics.
The what?
The truth hurts the skeptics.
Yeah, and what was the other saying? You don't have to worry about defending the truth, because it'll defend itself. And if this was something that could be blown out of the water, it would have happened already. I'll leave it with a boxing reference. No scientist has officially stepped into the ring with us is because you don't want to be that scientist that doesn't knock out flat Earth. And they haven't. So you're like, every round you go through, it's like, wait, why haven't you knocked out? Why haven't you knocked out flat Earth in the first round? Wait, why are they still standing? Why are they still here? And that's where we are. I have never seen a topic like this so polarizing and so interesting, where it resonates with all sorts. We're getting the kids now. I don't know if you saw that. All right, last thing, I swear to God, this last thing. Did you guys see the stat that came out? It was a British stat on I think it was u.gov, where they polled 8,000 Americans, and then all of a sudden this weird stat came out, which was the 18 to 24-year-olds, 33% of them, or 34% of them, believed in, it's like they didn't believe in the globe anymore. And it was freaking the scientists out. They didn't know what to do, because they were going, they literally could not come up with a reason for this, and it was covered over the news stations. It was great. Once you get the youth, as you know, it's over. It's just a matter of time. So I'm going to go head first in whatever it is. If I have to take the tip of the spear, that's fine. Hopefully I won't have to martyr myself. But if I do, at least you guys knew my plans ahead of me.
Hey Mark, to throw you some numbers to do with Britain, Dave Murphy was telling us in a chat we had before, I think it was a private one, they done a survey in Britain to start with. 1% said they thought the Earth was flat. Then they had this conference, a little bit later, sorry, not 1%, it was 6%. Then they had this conference, a little bit of media. After that, they repolled 17% after this one event. So we are making waves.
Oh yeah, it's too good an argument. Again, I have yet to find. All right, swear to God, then I'm going to leave. I swear to God, guys.
No, it's all right. It's all good.
If you guys want to watch something interesting, watch the testimony shows that are on YouTube. Meaning, I've had like 20-something people from all walks of life, all military, all structural engineers, the whole 9 yards. And not only, and it's been, some of them started back at the end of 2015. Not only have none of those people refuted their own, recanted on their testimonies, gone back and said, nope, I'm wrong, I'm a baller. But nobody has come out against them from their own industries. Meaning it'd be easy for the military to have some guy from the Army or the Navy, Air Force, Marines, all those guys. Nobody has come out against them. And it's just amazing to see the momentum that we have. It's not even 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's like 4 steps forward, then we get a clan fight for a little while. Yeah. That's another 4 steps forward, then somebody does some fighting. But it has been, right now, the Flat Earth Army is, from what I can see, absolutely unstoppable. It's inevitable.
Hey Mark, can I ask you a personal question? How was the Flat Earth?
It's nothing to do with Patricia.
How has the Flat Earth movement affected your relationships, close relationships with your family and friends personally? And i.e., have you divided friends and family, like most of us here probably have?
How have you
dealt with that?
No, it's a good question, and it's split down the middle. Meaning, no, I haven't alienated anybody, but that's because I don't shove it in their face. But from what I understand, my relatives, it's split down the middle. Like, mom's in, my sister's not. One cousin's in, another cousin's not. And you just go down the road. But at the same time, I started out pretty eccentric, so they kind of accepted me. You're talking about a guy who was thrown out of university for explosives. So it wasn't a huge stretch for me. But no, I haven't lost any. Yeah, there's some people that won't call me because of this, because they're afraid. It's like, oh God, what would he say? But at the same time, I don't shy away from it because look, it's the truth.
What did you do before this? What did you do for a 9-to-5 job?
I was a proprietary software trainer. I started out literally playing video games for a living up in the United States. And then I taught proprietary software in different parts of the country for about 20 years. And then I got into this on complete accident, and now this is what I do.
So did you get fired, or did you leave?
No. I was that I was doing startup things with some friends, but no, not fired because of it. And I don't know if you can even fire somebody for this.
They can manage you out though.
You can get ostracized for sure.
So where to, Mark, from here with the Flat Earth movement?
The what?
Where to from here with the Flat Earth movement? It seems like we're getting a little bit stagnant with
No. Where to? Because we've saturated the lower tiers of mainstream media. At this point, we're waiting for the jump, meaning literally every
the next leap.
I think it's like Mark was saying before, we need to get to the youth and let them
well, there's still one thing we're missing, and that is the top shelf, top tier media, which is your daytime talk shows, reality shows, anything from remember, we've covered all the web stuff, we've covered all the internet stuff. Yeah. But it's like over here we have ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox, that sort of thing. We have yet to make it in prime time. And once we get on that, then it takes off from there. And the documentary, I'm not kidding you.
Yeah, Mark, we had a mainstream kind of channel show up today to interview some people, but they are a TVNZ, which is a government organisation, but they're an online channel who have 150,000 15 to 29-year-olds. They target the young audience. So they come here today and interview a few people, and that'll be airing sometime next week. So, I mean, media is catching up on it, even here in New Zealand.
Yeah, we brought up Mad Rocket Mike, and then they brought up they brought that on our media, Channel 3 or something. Yes.
Awesome.
And
All right,
then they
let me do, okay,
Yeah.
one last thing, and then I swear to God, I am shutting this thing down.
You're all good, brother.
Okay, ready? And that is, oh no, I gotta mention this, because you mentioned the community down there. If you wanna have some fun before you go to bed, type in Flat Earth and convert it into any language you want, and then use that translation and throw it into Google or Yahoo or whatever, Bing or whatever you guys use. And it is, the communities are all over the place. I mean, I did a video on this, oh God, last year, before that, year and a half ago, where it's not like the Indonesian community, the Pacific Rim is huge. Russia. I got interviewed by a Russian team.
Yeah.
Europe is huge. It's all over the place. So but we all, we're in our own little thing, right? So we only look at English stuff. But seriously, type it in Spanish, in French, in Russian, whatever, German. I don't know all of them by heart, but when you plug it in, there's amazing communities that are out there.
Yeah.
So it's not just you guys. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you guys very much.
Get brother.
Hang on,
Just
hold.
quickly, can I just let you know?
What? Okay, last what?
Yeah, there's another group I've got called Flat Earthers Directory, and if we want unity, I've made this group 3 years ago, and it's got sub-posts of all the countries and states in America, and people are going, all the Flat Earthers are going in there and commenting where they live, so they can find people around near them. Flat Earthers Directory.
Oh wait, you're back.
It's just about the Flat Earthers Directory Facebook group. I've got sub-posts with all the countries and states in America, and people just join and they put pretty cool.
Sand blown.
It's growing.
Be sand blown.
So it's going to be finding people.
Yeah, be through a sand blaster. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, Mo.
Thank you.